If I could record a message and then go back in time and show myself before I graduated high school, it'd be this video. Here's 5 things regarding finances I wish I would have known before I graduated and got out to the real world. Number 1, you don't need to go to college. Now, don't get me wrong, college can be a good return on investment and is needed for certain career paths. But I don't think it should be made out to be the normal thing to do right out of high school whenever most teenagers have no clue what they want to do for the rest of their life. Now, I can't be the only one that thinks it's a bad idea to give these 18-year-olds like tens of thousands of dollars worth of student loans and putting them in that much debt whenever most of them more than likely won't even use what they're getting the debt for and still have no clue what they want to do when they get older. The average bachelor degree holder won't see any returns on their investment until after working full-time for like 15 years. Isn't that absolutely insane? Like, why are we conditioned to believe that this is normal? You start out underwater and it takes years to break even. This is why I say if you're in high school right now and you're about to graduate and you still don't know what you want to do, it's really not a bad idea to delay the decision of going to college for a little while and go to work as soon as you graduate. That way you're not wasting money if you decide it's not what you want to do. This could help prevent you from going into a lot of debt that has a good chance to be a burden on you in the future. Number 2, don't be jealous of your peers that are driving the nice cars. If your car sucks, or even if you're riding the bus, I promise you're not a loser and you're not behind on anything in life quite yet. Because 99% of the time, that person did absolutely nothing to deserve that vehicle. It was bought for them. And unfortunately for them, they're being conditioned to borrow bad debt before they even have a chance to develop their own financial literacy. If you can avoid going into student loan and car debt right after high school, you will be leaps and bounds ahead of all your peers. You'll be a decade ahead of them immediately, financially speaking. You will be extremely grateful whenever you're not worried about paying monthly bills and living paycheck to paycheck isn't a problem for you. Number 3, try not to get addicted to video games. And this is the one that got me the worst. Now sure, the cost of the newest console or a decent PC build can be offset and then some with a summer's worth of mowing, but that cost isn't necessarily the one you should be worrying about. It costs you time, and a lot of it. And at that age, your time is one of your most valuable assets. Many teens spend hundreds of hours per year playing video games and being on the internet. Now, I'm obviously not opposed to the internet because it can be a priceless tool, but also if used incorrectly, it can be a huge consumption and waste of your time, which long term will cost you much more money than you think. If I could go back in time, I would definitely tell myself to put down the video games and to spend more time with friends, because you'll lose a lot of them in many different ways during and after high school. And I would urge any of you listening to just enjoy that time before you have much more responsibility in just a few short years. Number 4, don't avoid difficult situations. Whenever things get hard or uncomfortable, don't be afraid to take them head on. Because whenever you do that, you'll find that you learn more about yourself than you ever would have if you didn't leave your comfort zone. I implemented this into my life recently, and I feel like it's already paying its dividends. I'm speaking to people much more direct, good eye contact, and for someone that's an introvert like myself and that has a lot of anxiety, that is extremely difficult to do. Now, you may be wondering, well, that sounds like a good tip, but what does that have to do with finances? And to that I answer, it depends. Speaking for myself, the answer is simple really. I focused on becoming a better communicator and looking at people in the eyes with confidence when I'm speaking to them. Now, this was awkward for me at first, but doing so allowed me to connect with people on a much deeper level, thus creating a much stronger bond. Having stronger relationships with people has already started to present more opportunities to me, some with financial benefits. And that's not saying, I go around just making all these friends hoping to make money off of people. It's simply just the law of reciprocity. For example, so you give value to someone, it's natural that they're going to want to give value back to you in one way or another. We all have areas in our lives that need work, so try to think of ways that you can strengthen your weaknesses and it will help you in one way or another. Number 5, have dreams so big that people laugh at you, and don't be afraid to do what's not cool. Back when I was in high school, I remember sitting in the cafeteria come Monday morning after a long weekend, and the whole place would just be buzzing with excitement, all the different things people did over the weekend, and usually it involved causing trouble in one way or another. You know, I just sit there quietly, and I just think, man, I wish I kind of fit into one of these groups a little better, and I wish I could be doing these cool things with them. Little did I know at the time, though, what all these other people were doing, which all of us in the lower social rankings thought was cool, it was actually pretty lame. Many of those cool people are still doing the exact same thing all these years later after we've graduated, and it's not quite as cool anymore. Like I said before, I believe it was number 3, these people were and they still are wasting precious time. And your 20s is the best decade for compound growth as far as your investments and retirement goes. Not only wasting time, but if you start out barely out of high school with student loan debt, car debt, there's a good chance that you'll miss that opportunity. Now, I've always had the goal to be an entrepreneur since a very young age, and not many people until the last year have heard me say that openly. Just anytime I was asked, you know, back in school by the counselors or by my friends, I'd always just give the answer I assumed everyone wanted to hear, and that was that I was going to go to college. But deep down, I knew that wasn't what I wanted. I wanted to be a business owner. I'd go and buy candy and soda in bulk at Sam's Club. For those that don't know what that is, that's like a Costco. And I had this huge blue Under Armour duffel bag, and I basically had like a small convenience store inside of this thing. I mean, I had everything. I had Coke, Mountain Dew, Dr. Pepper, Reese's, Twix, Kit Kats, Hershey bars. I have different kinds of gum. I mean, you name it, at some point I had it in that bag. And I would lug that bag around with me. And in between classes, I'd set up shop. Even made some sales during classes. Teachers were even customers at one point. It started out kind of slow, but it got to the point where I would fill this bag as full as I could get it and take it to school, and I would sell stuff all day long on the bus to school, at school, on the way home from school. And usually on the bus ride home from school, I would end up selling the last few things that I had. I sold everything for $1, and I'd make anywhere from, you know, 50, 100 bucks a day. Some days I made a little over 100 in revenue. That wasn't a lot of money, but that's pretty good for someone in high school with no bills. Sitting here now though, thinking back, the money isn't really what I remember most about that little business. It was the exhilarating feeling that I got when I made a sale. I mean, it felt incredible. It turned into being my motivation to go to school in the mornings. Eventually, you know, administration caught on and shut my little operation down. Now I'm thankful for my education and a rock solid plan B as an RN. But now that I'm finally getting back into business, I know this is kind of silly to say, but I haven't felt this level of like internal happiness since I was selling those candy bars out of that blue duffel bag. Before I left my job as a nurse, I told many of my coworkers what my plans were, and usually I'd always get the same good luck with little to no confidence. Sometimes I'd even get a giggle. But people do that whenever you're unconventional and you don't follow the herd. So make a solid plan and stick to it. No matter how weird or crazy it sounds to other people, just do it. That's going to wrap up this video, guys. I really appreciate all of you watching, and I'd like to encourage you to subscribe. Until next time, see ya.